Introducing the Paramena Bliss Podcast, a show dedicated to unraveling the mysteries of achieving optimal health naturally as you transition into perimenopause and menopause. Get ready to join your host, Dr. Seth Yates, an experienced naturopathic doctor, acupuncturist, and kinesiologist, as he shares his wealth of knowledge acquired from over 40,000 patient visits and 15 years in working with perimenopausal females. Welcome to the Paramena Bliss Podcast.
Hey, this is Doc Yates, and welcome to the Paramena Bliss Podcast, brought to you by abahealth.us. And today we are talking about how to get more by doing less, and specifically when it comes to weight loss in perimenopause. So how can you get more, better results by actually doing less work? And what this all comes down to is a balanced approach. And if I haven't told this story before, if I have, I'm telling it again with a different twist, because I want to talk about this analogy. When all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And it's something where I find so many times people try to use one thing for something it's not made for, and they end up doing way more harder work than they would ever have to do with getting terrible results. So I want you to imagine that a guy shows up for his first day of work at a construction site, and the only tool he owns at that point is a hammer. And the boss says, okay, go over there and bang those nails in. And it does perfectly because he has the right tool for the job. And then the boss is like, okay, that countertop over there, go over there and square that up. So he uses his hammer again and bangs the countertop. He does get it squared up. It's kind of messy, but it gets the job done even though it's a few hammer marks on the edge of the counter. And he's like, okay, now I need you to cut a hole in for where the sink's going to go. And he's like, no problem. And he takes his hammer and he just starts smashing it to try and smash a hole into where the sink's going to go. And the guy is sweating like crazy. He's working extremely hard. He eventually gets a hole in there, but it's an absolute terrible job. He's completely exhausted. And then, of course, he gets fired because he does an absolutely terrible job, and it's just a massive crack and hole in the countertop. Whereas if he had taken the time and used the right tools, he could have done way less work, way less effort, and gotten much, much better results. For instance, maybe if he had a jigsaw or something, screwdrivers, handsaw, anything, get a proper toolkit. And that's what we want you to have, is a proper toolkit. A lot of times too in mainstream medicine is that they get very reductionistic. And what that means is that instead of looking at you as like a whole person, they're always specializing and sending you to more specializers who are just looking at tiny individual parts and not paying attention to how those parts relate with other things. Like, oh, I have this stomach issue, and they're looking at the stomach, and they're going in, then they're actually going a scope and looking, and not that any of these things are bad to do, but if you don't find out, like, oh, the stomach issue is also because the person's under extreme stress, and they're taking these medications which leads to these stomach issues, they're not even looking at that. They're just zooming in so much that they can't see the whole picture. And what I don't want you to do is zoom in on all these different little treatments that can help with your weight loss that on their own aren't going to get great results. For example, number one, let's say you wanted to lose weight, but the only thing you were going to do is diet. No exercise. Now, specifically for hormone balance, and perimenopause, let's say you're doing no exercise, no hormone balance, no other supporting treatments, just diet. Yes, you will lose weight, but the diet that you will need to do that will be so much more restrictive that I can almost guarantee that you're not going to see you might see the results, you're probably going to lose muscle mass too, and it's going to be so much harder of a diet, you're never going to maintain it. I'm not going to mention the names of any other clinics, but there was another clinic that was in the Ontario region, at least, where their diet was so restrictive. It was like a clinical weight loss program. There's a couple of them, actually. They're so restrictive that they tell their clients, you can't exercise when you're on this diet. And some of them, there were actual diets that were extremely restrictive. Some of them where they were just giving them literally shakes only, and that's the only thing that you can do. It's just not maintainable. And then there's certain extreme examples where, say, you're getting a like a gastric bypass, then the diet becomes so restrictive that you can only have a couple tablespoons at a time, and that leads to other issues because of you just don't absorb anything. So diet on its own is like bringing that hammer and just smashing away when all you had to do was make a few simple cuts. Same thing, let's talk about exercise on its own. This is one that is very common and very frustrating. People are like, okay, I'm willing to go to the gym, and I'm even willing to spend a lot of money to see a trainer, but they don't do anything to change their diet. Yes, you will get stronger. Yes, you will get in better shape. And yes, all those things are really good for you. But if you were just to do some of the other things in combination with it, like the hormone balance, and to do some of the things like some diet changes, then your efforts, you would get so much better results. You wouldn't be so frustrated. And yeah, you would be so much happier. So exercise on its own, yes, you will get some results, not near as much as you would have wanted to. And you usually have to work out so hard that eventually it's almost like you're burning yourself out from exercising because you're just not recovering as well. The next thing, I have people come in and they ask for this. I want to lose weight. I don't want to do diet or exercise, but I want you to do acupuncture and give me some supplements so that I lose weight. And I'm always trying to say no, and they insist. I'm like, okay, I'll do it, but don't expect great results with just doing this. So we do it, and yes, the acupuncture on its own, you can see very slight results. Generally, what you'll see is like a slight reduction in cravings. Sometimes you'll see improvement with energy. You add the herbs. With the herbs, you can see improvement with metabolism on its own, but again, you'd have to be coming in for constant acupunctures, and nobody anymore has time. Like when acupuncture was first, when you read the old like historical books on acupuncture, they were doing it very, very frequently. Like you'd be getting acupuncture done every day. Nobody has time in their schedule for that anymore, and nobody has budget, and no practitioners have time to see some client every single day. So what happens is that most times when you're setting up acupuncture is once, often at most twice per week. That's not enough to that you're going to get all the results that you're looking for. Though a lot of practitioners will maybe try and tell you that is, because then they can sell you way more acupuncture sessions. But that's not the goal of being a practitioner. The goal is to get the results the client wants. And if someone wants those results, yes, I'll do acupuncture, but I will strongly encourage the exercise, strongly encourage the diet, and strongly encourage to all my perimenopausal patients the hormone balance. Now let's say all you wanted to do was hormone balance, and that was the only thing. Again, yes, you will see some results. The nicest thing with the hormone balance is that it makes it so that when you're doing these other things, and you're doing diet, you're doing exercise, and you're not seeing results, you get that final piece of the puzzle, and then you start seeing the results. But I have found that if the only thing you're doing is hormone balance, that gives you the potential to get the results, but you still have to do the other things to do the work to get the weight loss. So when you don't have hormone balance, it's like you're a hamster, like just spinning your wheel and going nowhere. You're dieting, you're exercising, you're getting no results. When you get the hormone balance, then you will get the results when you add in those other key elements. So it sounds like the name of this podcast was Do Less to Get More Results. And here's the thing. I just listed that you're doing actually more things, but the thing is you get to do a lot less of each one of those ones. And these are all things that are should be part of your day. Some exercise, a clean diet, hormone balance. You just do a little bit of all of those things, and then you're seeing results. Like I said, you can completely just pick one of them and just burn yourself out doing that one thing and go nowhere, or you can do a little bit of each and see big results. So I'll leave that decision up to you, but I hope this has been helpful. This is Doc Yates signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to the Paramena Bliss podcast. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and visit paramenobliss.com for more valuable information on how you can thrive during your transition through perimenopause. Join our community of like-minded women who are dedicated to achieving optimal health naturally, and stay up to date with the latest tips, tricks, and advice from Dr. Seth Yates. And we'll catch you on the next episode of the Paramena Bliss podcast.